The reviews for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are out, and most of them seem to say there are performance issues. So apparently there are some good aspects, there are some bad aspects. There's a good open world, there's some cool new legendaries, but the performance seems to be ruining the fun for some people. So in today's video, let's dive into the reviews and find out what people are saying about the performance issues, and then I'm actually going to present a bit of a stretch, but what could be a solution to Pokemon. So let's go ahead and dive in.
But
My personal favorite review has been Nintendo Life's review. It was a really cool watching the video, and then at the end, Alex could not get over the frame rate dips. There were this was not even 30 FPS apparently, and there was all kinds of chugging, there was all kinds of weird pop-in issues. There were different hiccups apparently in the game. So if we look on Metacritic, we have a score of 77. One interesting review from the enemy starts with tech problems with the game, but they give it a 100. If you look at Screen Rant, they give it a 90. And if you look at VGC, this reviewer gave Pokemon Scarlet and Violet an 80 and said, however, it's just impossible to shake off the thought of how much better the game would feel if it was on more powerful hardware, or if it simply ran acceptably on the Switch. The point of running more acceptably on the Switch, I am totally on board with, but the part where they say if they had better hardware, I definitely agree that Switch could use better hardware with the gaming landscape being what it is. You have a non-competitor, but still something to consider with the Steam Deck. This thing is running Steam games. You're not going to get the Nintendo experience on the Steam Deck, but it's still a factor to consider. But this caused Switch 2 and Switch Pro to be trending. So yes, we definitely do need a new Switch. A lot of people use Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity as the outlier game as far as how bad the frame rate dips are. It didn't bother me too much, but it's a game where a lot of people are going to compare the frame rates on that compared to what they could be on a more powerful hardware. The fact is that more powerful hardware is not an excuse for this Pokemon game to not run well. Pokemon, for some reason, has a small development team. Why are they a small development team when they are the highest growing franchise in any multimedia aspect? Between the playing cards, between toys, between the shows, between the movies, including the Ryan Reynolds one, including the games, how much money do you need to put a team together to put this together and actually make a good game? It kind of frustrates me that Pokemon just knows that it's that it's the highest grossing franchise of all time, and it literally puts together a game in its sleep. Because at the end of the day, who cares? Your kids are going to eat this up, and they don't care at all about frame rate. They don't care a lick about anything that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Let me know if you do plan to get this for your kids. I'm sure they're going to have a really good time with it. For us adults, I really wish that this situation would be a wake-up call for the Pokemon Company. Probably not going to happen, but here's my stretch of a solution to make the Pokemon games better in the future. If you were to take the Pokemon games as they are, now granted, they looked fine on the Game Boy. The Game Boy is the Game Boy. They looked fine on the Game Boy Advance. They looked great on the Nintendo DS and 3DS. But when they went to the Switch, I was very disappointed to see in Sword and Shield that the animations they used, which were, just bouncing up and down, and they used Game Boy sound effects on Switch hardware. And I'm thinking to myself, you mean to tell me that you can't put together some sort of animal call for these Pokemon on a 2019 game, really? If the Pokemon Company is going to limit the development team to a small team and give it a big time crunch as far as releasing, a couple games in the same year, we got Arceus and we got Scarlet and Violet. Well, maybe, and now this is a stretch, maybe it might be time to knock on Square Enix's door and team up to do an HD 2D either remake, maybe of the first game. That would, I know that would be triple dipping, maybe quadruple dipping if I'm mistaken, but I personally think that if you looked at Octopath Traveler, if you looked at Triangle Strategy, if you look at the upcoming Dragon Quest III remake HD 2D, this treatment to Pokemon really could work in the modern era. I don't think 3D open world is the way to go. I really think Pokemon is maybe a product of its original hardware with the Game Boy and Game Boy Color there. So what if you were to update the sprites and just beautify it with the HD 2D stuff that Octopath Traveler and these other games have done? The expectation of you using Game Boy sound effects on there would be a lot more acceptable, and the animations on something like that would be fine because you're kind of looking at it as a Super Nintendo game made in the 20s. Honestly, this is never going to happen, but if Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, if you so happen to watch this, I really think this would be a great idea to modernize your Pokemon games. Granted, your current Pokemon games are going to sell like crazy, so really your reaction to this video would just be to wipe the tears away with your dollar bills on your way to the bank. So good for you. But why not? But also, if you really care about making a good Pokemon game, why not team up with Square Enix, the kings of RPGs? I know this is wishful thinking, but that's my solution. Busy gamers, sound off in the comments. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a horrible idea? Either way, let me know in the comments below. Do you have creative solutions for Pokemon going forward? Let me know. And that's all for today's video. Go be sure to spend time with your families, go ace that next test, and go score touchdowns before playing Call of Duty. I'll see you on the next one.